Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. Today I'm chatting with an old school friend of mine and a fellow YouTuber, Jack Wareing. Jack is the brand ambassador for Langstein Liquor, who produce one of the most amazing gins, Porter's Gin. But before that, he was a barman and working in bars around London, including the world famous Dandelion, which came number one out of like the top 50 bars in the world. So this guy knows his stuff. And I thought, who better to have a chat with us today about the pandemic, but also the effect on the drinks industry than Jack. So let's get to it. Jack, welcome to Chewing the Fat, mate.
Hi.
A long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a real hot minute for sure.
It really has. Lots and lots to speak about, but I mean, we should probably start off with the fact that we both went to school together. So, Campion School, Northamptonshire, favourite teacher, go.
Mr. McSkimmon.
Who was that?
Chemistry, surely.
Oh, mental. Yeah, maybe that. Not Mr.
It
Beasley.
just highlights Mr. Beasley. Yeah, he was my form tutor for a little while.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Of course, because you were Oak, weren't you?
Yes, I was Oak.
Sure.
We didn't actually have any classes together.
No, I don't think we did.
No. So I mean, I was doing the science chemistry stuff, and you were on the like drama performing arts stuff. And
you say that. I never actually did drama or performing arts. I just hung out with the people that did it.
Oh, right, okay.
Which sort of makes it worse, really.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for having a chat. Obviously, as I said, we've got lots to talk about, and I think we should start off maybe at the beginning, in as much as let's get a bit of an intro to you for those that don't know you or haven't even seen the YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about your history and where you came from, what you've been doing over the past few years, and where you're at now.
Right. Hi, I'm Jack. I run a little YouTube channel that's called Jack Wareing Cocktails, and I run a show that is called One Thing Drinks. I started off studying sculpture straight out of school, and quickly found that I couldn't make any money doing that. Not many people buy sculptures these days. So I figured that I'd go into photography because I felt that was it's a good way to flex those kind of creative muscles, I guess. So I finished uni, but I'd gone back to Guildford for a year to live with my girlfriend, which her housemates were ecstatic about. There I needed to pick up some kind of everyday work and stuff. So I figured, why not be a barman? I started work at a little bar that's called Bar des Arts in Guildford. There's this tiny kind of, it was probably the size of my kitchen is now. Probably like 10, 12 seats, had a little like baby piano in the corner.
Yeah. And
there'll be live music every night. So it was kind of cool. It was very.
At this point, though, are you more sort of concerned about the photography, the creative side of things, or are you like how sort of far forward in your mind is the cocktail stuff and the drinks industry?
So at this point, like the cocktail industry is very much like a burgeoning kind of infatuation, I guess.
Okay.
You know, I loved making people happy. I loved having like new experiences every night. It was the idea of like still flexing those creative muscles of making stuff for people, but having that instant gratification of being like, here's your thing, enjoy it. And I always knew that I needed to go to London. It was for photography predominantly, just because, you know, everything happens here. It's you know, if you want to be taken seriously, you've got to be seen around serious people. And I really wanted to do that. So I moved to the bright lights and dizzying heights of Croydon. I was there for a while, tried to get jobs in bars around there, and no one would take me. No one would take me seriously. It was like, oh, you worked in rinky-dink bar in Guildford that no one's heard about. Like, nah, whatever. So I tried my luck at like bigger stuff, and I got an interview at a really swanky hotel that hadn't opened yet. That was then called Sea Containers. Sorry, it was then called the Mondrian in Sea Containers House.
Yes,
And I went in for an interview and got a job at the restaurant, which was awesome. As a barman, kind of got exposed to a completely different side of service, which was rather than that kind of really informal, quite intimate, kind of one-on-one experience that I had at the bar in Guildford. I had this like gigantic restaurant. It had like, I think it had like 350 seats. It was like this
Wow.
gigantic restaurant. You know, we had this really high energy, bustling experience, which was, you know, something I never experienced before. And you know, I got pushed to my limits there, which was awesome. You know, having, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but having like checks come in, and you've got a full line of checks on your rail, and then more checks come in, so that you've pretty much got 2-3 rails going. The turning point for me there was a guy who was like the wine guy there. He's called Alex Casey. The way he talked about wine and how enthusiastic he was about it, and kind of the words that he used really turned me on to kind of that side of it. So instead of just working for service and being like, what do you want? Yeah. What do you want? Yeah. He kind of opened up this creative side of things of being like, I can curate your dining experience, and I have insight into what you would like, rather than just like, you tell me what you want, I'll make it. So he really turned the corner for me in terms of service. Quickly found out that I was like, I don't want to do this like restaurant business anymore. I want to do cocktails. So I want to use this creativity that I've kind of opened up here and spend it on kind of really high, like high upper echelon kind of cocktail bar experience. And it just so happened there was one of those bars like in the hotel. So I tried out for those guys, and after about 6 months of me asking, they took me on. So this bar was called Dandelion at the time. Is run by this guy called Mr. Lion, or Ryan Chettiawadana, hence why he goes by Mr. Lion. And he had a bar in Hoxton that was called White Lion, and this bar was like, it was visionary because they didn't use any ice, they didn't use any fresh citrus, they didn't use any fresh juices whatsoever. So the whole idea of this bar is that if you were to stop trading and open up 6 months down the line, all of the ingredients and all of the drinks could be exactly the same. And like thinking about this now in our situation now, it would be perfect. But it was the kind of thing where it really made people question what a bar is. Is it the drinks that are put in front of you? Is it the experience? Is it the people? And this was very much geared towards the people. That really informed what Dandelion was. So he opened Dandelion a year after White Lion. And this place was like phenomenal. And very quickly it picked up a load of awards. It was actually awarded Best Bar in the World by two separate people. So it's this phenomenal like machine. There was like 32 people working there.
So was the place itself a big place, or was it because there were so many members of staff? Was that because you still wanted the experience of being able to connect with your customers so easily, but at the same time make sort of more, like, how would you say it? Not highfalutin, but like, do you know what I mean? Like sort of like intricate drinks, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the whole like premise of it is that it's a hotel bar, and traditionally hotel bars are really stuffy, and you need to kind of dress up to go to them, and yeah, you know, you pay a lot of money, and you need to be in the know or in the clique to have a great time there.
Sure.
And the whole idea of this was that it was a neighborhood bar, just so happens to be in a hotel. I put a drink on 3 menus there, which was really cool. 2 of them won best menu in the world, which was, you know, phenomenal. Yeah, it was very much a kind of a formative experience for me there. Some of the bartenders that I worked with have gone off to do incredible stuff. And in fact, a majority of the bartenders I worked with have gone off to do incredible stuff, kind of world-class stuff, which is incredible. And I count myself very lucky that I was there at the time. One of the guys that I started working with there was called Alex, and he's a Scottish guy, full of tattoos, proper roughneck-looking dude, but he went to private school, so he's like a big softie. He's lovely. So he started a company with a couple of pals up in Aberdeen, making gin in their bar. So they own a bar up there called Orchid, which is like Aberdeen's kind of premier cocktail establishment, I guess. It's been running for well over 10 years now. And they started making gin in their basement. So got rid of one of the stock rooms, put in some rudimentary stills, and started creating stuff. And at this time, when I was at Dandelion, Alex was there as well, who founded it. And we really got kind of chatting about wine. He's a big wine aficionado as well. And we're like, he said that he has a project coming up that he might like have me for. And he was like, yeah, this is it. This is cool. And after a year of chatting about it, he was like, yeah, come on board as brand ambassador. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
So this is a thing that I wanted to ask you. So obviously with the pandemic over the last year, as a brand ambassador, who's I take it part of the job is going and selling the brand to bars and restaurants. You must be having a nightmare over the past year.
Yeah, that's it. It's. I mean, we've been furloughed since it came in, because obviously I can't do my work. It has changed slightly over the past kind of 5 months or so. But yeah, I'd go to like 30 bars a week.
Right.
Sometimes way more than that. It's 30 bars was kind of the minimum. And so
and then you do your job.
Yeah. it sounds like, oh, poor guy, like goes around to bars and all that stuff, but it's it's meeting people, it's networking, it's that's all it was, and trying to get people to buy stuff, which is a pain.
Yeah.
We've just exported to our 15th market now, so we're in 15 countries.
Wow.
So I was quite lucky. I was the one who kind of got sent out and to meet our new markets and kind of rub shoulders and do all the kind of kissing babies and stuff like that. So that was really cool. So actually, when the pandemic kind of the rumors and rumblings of the pandemic happened in kind of January, February, I was back and forth between here and New York, and I'll be kind of looking to do that another kind of 6 or 7 times during the year. Because we just launched out over there, and that's like a huge market for us.
Yeah,
it's a big
yeah.
deal. I was scheduled for kind of 6 or 7 trips this year to like Italy and Serbia, and there was an Australia trip planned and all this stuff. So my whole kind of ambassadorship has been put on hold. But what I'm doing now is much more kind of focused on internal stuff. So we're coming up with a load of new products and all this R&D and stuff like this. So
because you mentioned to me some products that you guys are trying to work on now, and is that in an attempt to make sure that your drinks are being drunk, I suppose, at home by people because they can't go out at the moment?
Yeah, I mean the industry has taken a huge hit. Obviously, like it's the hospitality industry has been demonized since kind of the pandemic kind of came in, and it still is now. But I think the people of the drinks industry are some of the most resilient and hardworking and kind of, for lack of a better word, pivotable,
but multi-skilled, and they can apply their sort of skill to a number of different things.
Yeah, it's resilience more than anything, I think.
Yeah, I think it's something that like has been shown massively, like across the board with bars, restaurants, hospitality all over. Like a lot of restaurants and stuff now do home kits and things like that, and it clearly, we are a country of people who will, or at least the people in that industry will try and make best of a bad situation.
Absolutely, and I think there's a few real amazing success stories that have come out of this. One of them being drinking at home, because I think the pandemic more than anything has killed the occasion. It's the death of the occasion. You can't. There's no weekends anymore. There's no birthdays. There's no Christmas. There's no New Year. So making these kind of micro occasions for yourself in this little micro community of your bubble or your house or whatever, really is a super important thing. And bars are brilliant at they have been brilliant at kind of turning their products into something that you can enjoy at home, whether that's bottled cocktails, or they'll come around to do a like a hamper or something, or do like online masterclasses or anything like that. It just goes to show that people need that interaction. It's a shame that you can't do that in person. The people who run these establishments are they're the people with the finger on the pulse and have insight into what people want and the trends and all this stuff. And I think it's such a shame that they've been shuttered. But there have been some real success stories in that. And again, whereas where other people would just give up, it's something you see pretty much every local bar that has some kind of oomph or people that really care about it. They're doing home kits, or they're doing something to bolster their income.
So what are you working on at the moment?
Mm.
Can you say?
Yes.
Or is it like?
So we launched just before Christmas. We launched Send a Negroni,
Okay.
which is it's all made up in Aberdeen in Orchid, our bar up there, and for 10 quid you get a Royal Mail parcel with a Negroni in it that you get to send to a pal with like a little note that says, "Hey, I miss you," or "Let's have a drink soon," or whatever. And yeah, all in 10 quid. You just send a drink to someone. We just released this little puppy, this is the Send a Negroni like little dude, and this is the Pocket Negroni. So it's a 100 ml can that you buy a 6-pack, so you have Negronis whenever you want, and it's like ready to drink. Open the can, slurp wherever you are. We thought that people would drink them on the train, but obviously, like, not many people are taking the train these days. Every single time we make these, they sell out in like days.
Yeah.
So that's something we're working on, and we're working on a new company called White Box, which is a canned cocktail company made up in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And so this is one of the drinks we're going to be launching, which is called the Hippie Fizz, which is one of my drinks, which is I'm super.
I was going to say, so like because I remember Hippie Fizz being on One Thing Drinks.
Yes, yeah. So I made this drink. It was for London Cocktail Week. Must have been 2016, I think. And it was the first time that porters had done any kind of major activation. And I made this thing. I fell in love with it. It's basically like it's a tropical mule topped up with beer. Yeah. So it's gin, patchouli, pineapple, passion fruit, and then topped up with beer. So it's this really kind of weird, esoteric, very kind of one-of-a-kind drink. But we've tweaked it slightly to be in can form, but it's super delicious.
So how many flavors have you got so far? Like, obviously you got Hippie Fizz there. Have you got a number of others?
Yeah, so we're working on a few other bits. The White Box kind of mantra is that we're not like doing one cocktail and another cocktail and another cocktail. Say like a Moscow Mule and a mojito and stuff. We're doing drinks that we want to do, and we're treating White Box as like a cocktail menu. So it might change over time. We might take something off. We might add something. We might revisit something. So if we're like, this tastes good, but it could be better, we'll revisit it. And like maybe 6 months down the line, you'll have like a version 2. Or it's kind of like these party drinks that you kind of grew up on, that are, they're refined. They're for 2021.
Yesterday, I heard some news that we're not looking to open restaurants and bars until like May.
Mm-hmm.
How hard do you think it's going to be for restaurants and bars and drinkeries to reopen and to survive, basically, I suppose?
Well, without being too kind of dire and doomsaying, it's
no. Go on, we like that. Yeah.
There's plenty of companies who have anticipated reopening, bought loads of stock, done like massive reopening, spent loads of money on marketing and stuff, and be like, hey, we're back open again, come see us, just to have kind of 2 weeks later being turned around and be like, no, you're closing again. I don't think there's any guarantees for restaurants and bars to really have an open experience, I think, for the next at least 18 months. And that's it's really difficult. You spend your life thinking, how can we get more people through the door? And all of a sudden you've got to think, how can we get less people through the door? Or like, how do we limit people coming in? And how do we turn people away?
And still make the same amount of money.
Exactly. And I think in some respects, the pubs will be kind of bouncing back somewhat. I think it's the kind of the mid tier restaurants and bars that will really suffer, that will just fall by the wayside, because it's like people will say, oh, hey, if we're going to go out, let's either make it a really, really fancy one, or let's just go to our local. And so people won't necessarily travel for those kind of mid-tier bars and restaurants, which I think is really tough. And tough is an understatement, I guess. It's something which is, we've never seen, this industry has never seen anything like this.
I think that there's also something maybe to be said of a phoenix type effect. Like it'll burn now and it's horrible, but it will rise again. Like no one's ever going to go, right, well, suppose we don't drink anymore. Suppose that's a thing. Yeah. Like people are still going to want to drink, and there will come a time, I suppose, where bars will flourish again.
Yes. I think so too. It's this is the darkest moment, I think. And if we can make it through this, then I think it's you can make it through anything. So
let's talk about the YouTube channel.
Raspberries have somewhat mystical status amongst bartenders. Not only do they make the freshest, most delicious classic cocktails around, but they also have the ability to fix any misshapen or unbalanced cocktail.
Was your YouTube channel sort of a result of lockdown, the first lockdown?
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually when I first got the news I was going to be furloughed. It was I still wanted to create. I still wanted to keep limber in terms of like thinking about drinks, because we were told it was only going to be 12 weeks. It's the kind of thing like, oh yeah, fine, I'll do something for now. So I started doing Instagram lives just like every other bartender in the world did, and it was I wanted to do something slightly differently. Everyone was teaching you how to make old fashions, martinis, Negronis, Manhattans.
Stanley Tucci. You're talking about Stanley Tucci. God bless him.
And I thought, like, actually getting hold of these ingredients is actually quite difficult, especially going to the supermarket and seeing all the bare shelves and having 0 strawberries, 0 raspberries, like all the fresh fruit was gone. And traditionally that's what you make kind of fun cocktails with. So I wanted to make a series where you could have one ingredient and have 3 ideas kind of sparking off from that one ingredient. And being kind of in the bartender community, a lot of people see like tutorial stuff as a bit like kind of lowbrow, I guess. Would be like, oh yeah, you're teaching people how to do this or whatever. So I wanted to do something that was a bit more elevated as well. So taking one ingredient and making 3 drinks from it, one that's super easy, and one that's a bit more intermediate, and then one that's really techie and kind of for the bartenders, I guess. And so I started doing that every Wednesday. I called it One Thing Wednesday, because I did one thing every Wednesday, which is, it kind of takes care of itself. And so I ended up doing that for 25 weeks, which was like, I never thought that would happen. It was just a thing that happened over summer. And I went to the guys at Porter's and I said, hey, I want to make this a proper thing. I want to put some production value into it. I want to, make it worthy of being hosted on the internet forever. As soon as it's there, it's there for life. So I chatted with those guys. They were really, really good, and we talked through kind of what we could do. We came at it from making a new brand kind of perspective. Excuse me. So it was really cool to kind of see those guys and them giving me enough stock to kind of do what I wanted, but still kind of make it proper, I guess. So yeah, that was awesome. And then in August, I started One Thing Drinks, which was a kind of an evolution of One Thing Wednesday. Those videos, by the way, are on the Porter's Gin Instagram, and you go on the IGTV, and they're all there. So they're like 15 minutes long, and it's all live, and it's quite cool. And I'm in my garden, and soaking up some sun, how I miss the sun. I've never really done kind of talk to camera stuff before.
Yeah,
I've never done that kind of, hey, look at me, influencer kind of thing. And that was a big kind of steep learning curve. You'll see the first video that I do for Instagram, I'm like, and then like towards the end of it, I'm getting in the role. So
I think that they're great. I think the videos are so good. Like, and I think one of the things that like I think really shines through with them is that you know what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? And I think that the moment that you have someone who actually genuinely knows, right, these flavors work together, these flavors don't, like, you know, this is how we're going to do this, this is the technique for this, straight away, like, you're in, like, you know, you want to watch it.
And a lot of the drinks are either inspired or like just blatantly stolen from from my time at Dandelion or kind of other bars that I worked in. And I think it's quite nice to shout out to people who made drinks, because it's something that you don't necessarily see. You know, you say beef Wellington and you think, oh, Gordon Ramsay, or you know, there's this kind of like connect between like a dish and a chef, and there's a few drinks in the world that have that connection, but not many. And to say, rather than like, oh, I came up with this, aren't I great? I think it's a really nice thing to talk about other bartenders who have done fantastic things, who I like, much better bartenders than I am, who I can kind of draw from, which is great. I think that's something which is, you know, you can't really get anywhere else. And you know, so far as to say like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I have experience, but I'm definitely not kind of on the upper tier of kind of professional. I'm in that weird little zone of like more than amateur, but definitely, yeah, no, I take it. I guess I'm an expert, but
yeah, mate, I think run with it, really run with it. And I think also, if you're going to steal, just steal from the best.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
You know, your work's going to be the best. So I suppose one of the things that I want to ask everybody who sort of like comes and does this is, like, during the first lockdown, banana bread was like a massive thing. Like people went mental for banana bread.
Yeah.
Right. And I suppose I sort of want to find out, what is your, and this would more apply to, I suppose, cocktails for you. What would be your go-to cocktail that would be like the thing that you would make for yourself because you just want a bit of joy, like something really like that you're going to enjoy on, as you said, there's no weekends anymore, so any night of the week. But just something that you're like, yes, that is the one thing I'm going to make.
Yeah, so I think I really love a gin Ricky, but you can also have like vodka Ricky or like whiskey Ricky or whatever, and all it is lime juice, sparkling water, and gin. Vodka lime and soda is a vodka Ricky, but it like fresh juice rather than kind of cordial, and I think it's the bubble, it's the sparkle. There's something to be said for having a bubble, whether it's like a soft drink or like, you know, a can of Coke or something. It gives you this like extra element of indulgence that you wouldn't usually get from other stuff. So it's the Ricky, a gimlet, which is, you know, everyone's got a bottle of this or has had a bottle of this in their house. Rose's lime cordial. A gimlet is just that and gin, and you just stir it down and drink it like a martini. And that's like super easy to do, but also absolutely delicious. And one of those things where you're like, yeah, go on, I'll have another one of them. It's only 1 o'clock. Yeah, it's fine. Whiskey soda is like my all-time favorite drink, and it's a drink that I will have in every bar that I go to. And then my all-time favorite drink that gets me weak at the knees is a Floridora, which is I've made it twice on my channel actually. So it's basically a gin mule with raspberries, and it very much applies the rule. So there's like an unwritten, unsaid rule in bartending. Like, if you have a bad drink, if you ever make a bad drink, if you add a dash of sugar and a couple of raspberries, it makes everything better. Like, honestly, try it with any drink you've ever had and tell me it doesn't taste better, because it's definitely like an unwritten rule that applies to everything, and that's the Florodora. You know, you have like gin, ginger, topped up with ginger ale, bit of lime, couple raspberries, done. I think it's incredible.
Well, the one thing I'll say about all of them is really quite straightforward drinks.
Yeah.
Like, whereas, I mean, like, and for a man who sort of, you know, is making a YouTube channel about making quite sort of like intense, sort of like, you know, intricate cocktails, he's got very simple needs.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm basic when it comes to it. Like any pink drink, like I'm there. Like pink drinks, pink is the best flavor.
Jack Wareing, ex-Campion School alumni, bartender genius, and ambassador for an incredibly nice-looking gin. Thank you so much for coming on today and having a chat with me.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's awesome.
Hopefully, there'll come a point in the future where we can get together and collaborate something.
Please and thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, mate.
Cheers, dude.
See you soon.